Welcome back to the channel, Put Sage on It Barbecue. As always, thank you for joining me. I am Sage. Today we're doing a classic. I've done it a few times before. I just love it. I mean, what can I say? It's just the most versatile thing that you can cook, that you can smoke. Pulled pork. So I've got 8 of these, and this is, it's special. It's for my coworkers, and that's what I love about barbecue. It's giving it away. Anything I cook for myself is just, it's good, but it's not as gratifying as watching somebody take that first bite of something that you stayed up all night to smoke just for them. And I think that's a lot of your motivation as well. If you're watching this channel, if you follow other barbecuers and you want to learn to do this yourself. And like I say on this channel, I'm never preaching from the pulpit here. I'm always a student of barbecue, as always a teacher. I get disappointed in myself sometimes. That's how it is. Every cook is different. And I'm trying to learn, and I'm trying to get better, and I'm studying too, and I'm passing those tips on to you. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I want this to be extra special. I'm going to go the extra mile here because I really want this to be memorable. So we got our pork here. You guys know me, I'm a big fan of these aluminum pans. You can save yourself, the drippings, the risk of fire, you name it. Anything you smoke will get just as much smoke in these pans, as long as you don't cover it, of course. So I'm just going to pat this dry. And always remember, always keep a clean hand. And you have one hand that you're processing with, that you're touching the meat with, flipping the meat, putting your rub on, whatever. That's if you actually use your hand and rub it in. Always keep a hand that is clean, that is dry, so that you're not touching your seasonings, touching everything. So I'm going to use my left hand here. This is what I'm going to touch the meat with. So I'm just going to pad this as well as I can here with my right hand so that I'm not actually touching the meat, and I'm just going to pat dry. So just like this. Again, just keep your hand on top there. Not trying to touch that meat. I definitely don't want to with this hand. With this hand, I can come in and there, voila. Just a little flip. Okay, I'm going to do that to all 4 of these, exactly like that. Again, you don't have to do this for an hour. That's plenty. I'll do this for all 4, and then we'll move on to our next step. I've already started this process, but I've just got a little bit of olive oil down in here, down in the bottom of a pan. And I'm essentially transferring over our pork butt. Sorry, it's loud. So what I'm doing is getting a little bit of a crust on this. And I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, hey, why don't you season that and then kind of put a crust on it and seal that spice in. But all you're going to accomplish if you do that is you're going to burn your spices. So you want to do this first if you try this method. And I'm not looking to get this super brown, but this will add some texture, some layers. It'll put just a little bit more bite to it, to the bark. Then when you bite down into that pork, you're going to get those layers of the spices. And then again, just that little bit of texture difference. Caramelization, if you will. It is very difficult to turn this in the pan. I won't lie. But we'll work on it together. There you go, you see? So we're just getting a little bit more color on there. And again, I'm not doing a whole lot. And I'm not going to try to brown all the sides. That would be very time consuming. Again, I just want to give this a little extra something. And you're going to be able to tell within your end product. Like I say, it doesn't have to be a lot. One or 2 minutes. Again, I've got the heat. I mean, it's medium high, more on the high side. Again, just to save some time. Just going to add a little something to that pork, like I say. And even that fat, it renders down, you know, as it cooks, is going to have this just a little bit of a pan fried flavor, for lack of a better description. So just be patient with it. This does take extra time, like I said, but it's worth it in the end. I mean, you get out what you put into this. You know, it's barbecue. You can do this the quickest way, you know, and I'm a fan of that. Sometimes I do. Or you can go the extra mile. You know, if you really want to put on the wow factor, you can do a lot with flavor, with seasoning, with layering, with texturing. And we could talk all day about that. And honestly, you know, one thing I wish I knew more about is seasoning specifically. You know, I know there's people out there that know that, hey, this pairs well with this spice does not go well with this spice. I don't know a lot about that. That's why I, you know, do buy prepackaged stuff. And when I'm in doubt, salt and pepper, I go very simplistic. There you go. You see what I'm saying now? You can see just that little bit of browning, that little bit of caramelization. That's really all I'm looking for. So I'm going to do that to all of these, just like this, and then I'll get back to you guys. All right. I think y'all can see that well enough. So as you can see, like I said, you can see that color difference. Again, we wasn't trying to do anything too extreme. Just put a little bit of color on that, a little bit of texture, a little bit of added flavor. It's already been fried in olive oil, so I'm not too concerned about putting a lot for the binder. But we'll do just a few drops just in case. And again, we've changed our gloves out. So we're keeping a dry hand, you know, and a processing hand, as I call it. That's already coated pretty good. So today I'm going with this Buc-ee's steak seasoning. I'm telling you guys, if you haven't tried Buc-ee's seasonings, barbecue seasonings, give that a shot. Not only is it economical, but it is just delicious. And again, that's what's great about these pans. I'll still make a little bit of a mess, but I always do. Just rub it down on the sides there. Oh, these behemoths are sometimes a little challenging to handle. Sorry about the angles and all that. We're doing what we can do here. But look at the color. Look at that seasoning. And again, liberally is fine. You know, if I don't have a ton of seasoning, I mean, I've got plenty, don't get me wrong. But I'll just go with a light coat. And then when I finish them all, I'll see what I have left. and then just kind of sprinkle over the top. So I'm going to finish these out, all of these, that same process, and then I'll be back. All right, so you see our finished product there. I did run out of that seasoning I was using, the steak seasoning. So I just mixed in some Buc-ee's barbecue seasoning with it. So we just did a bit, we did a mixture. You can see beautiful color. And I'm putting on the smoker now. So we'll take a look at that. We are losing daylight, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going with the old upright pellet smoker, not pellet smoker, propane smoker. I'm going to use pellets in it. Interestingly enough, you know, it's got some chambers in the bottom for wood chips. I'm actually going to use pellets for a pellet smoker. And yes, the pellets have sage in them. So we just got this heating up here. Hard to see, but yeah, you can see. We're about 200 right now. So I need to put some water down in the water pan. That's extremely important in the bottom. And put my pellets in. And these cheap aluminum pans, I swear, if I get a hole in one, I'm going to scream. But it's almost impossible. I should have bought double. I'm going to start doing that. These cheap pans, you will end up with a hole in them. They're convenient, but just sliding the pan in as careful as you want to be, a couple times in and out to wrap or whatever, you're going to get a hole in one for sure. You're going to end up lining the bottom of the pan in foil. It's a whole thing. So I'm going to get some water in this, get some pellets in there, and maybe get me a drink mixed up. Get this night started. It's about 15 after 8. Now they're going to be having lunch tomorrow. Oh, probably about 1 o'clock. I'd rather get this done early than just be pushing it the wee hours in the morning. And if you've got a good cooler, and I do, you can keep pork butt hot for 8 to 12 hours. I'm not kidding you if you follow a few steps, and maybe I'll show some of that in here. Again, if you got a good cooler, don't worry about getting this stuff done early. Like I said, it's 8, so forgive me, I'll count on my fingers. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd say about 6. This might be done about 6 a.m., even 7. I mean, it's 8 pork butts, so it's going to take a while. I'm not going to try to heat this up super fast, nowhere over 250. So we'll get this started, get the smoke rolling. All right. Pro tip, if you do this, if you use pellets in a propane smoker instead of wood chips, wrap your pellets in aluminum foil and poke holes in it. It'll keep these from just simply burning up very quickly. So it'll just get a good smoke going for a long time. It's 2:30 in the morning. I'm getting awake. A little Mountain Dew going. As you can see, that's just tough going out there. You know, I don't have the setup that, you know, would make that easier. You know, I could have a light setup out there, whatever, but, you know, I don't, and that's okay. Those are smaller details. We're getting through it. But I'll be wrapping within 30 minutes. The good thing about those propane smokers, or if you got a pellet smoker, you know, I got to work tomorrow. So I got a good couple hours sleep. And that's wonderful. Do that at your own risk. I wouldn't do it for sure with a stick burner. I've woken up before and it be pouring the rain when you didn't think rain was coming. And, you know, the smoker is just put out, for lack of a better word. Nothing's burning, all your wood's burned up, all those kind of scenarios, and it's completely cooled down. And it's just, not only is that bad, for just one reason, but several. It's like starting over, basically. You got to build a fire almost from scratch. You also, depending on where in the cook you are, you don't want to leave your food, whatever kind of meat that you're cooking, in what they call the danger zone. And you can look those up for each individual types of meat, whether it's beef, whether it's pork, whether it's whatever. You don't want to leave it in this bacteria growth zone, sort of what it is. And like I said, it's kind of a little different for each kind of meat, but generally the same. And I can't rattle that off the top of my head. But, you know, you want to keep that temperature internally steadily climbing, not to where it's stuck at, I think it's like, I don't know, 130 or 140 degrees, in that range. You don't want it to stay in that internal temp range for too long. And that can happen when your fire goes out. Anyway, so we're going to wrap again, 30 minutes. But yeah, I got a couple hours sleep. Again, do that at your own risk. You know, anything could happen. That could catch on fire the same as any smoker, and people have burnt their smokers to the ground. You could be fast asleep and something like that ignite a grease fire. That's a good thing about the pans too, if you're going to take a little nap. Because if you've got, you know, grease drippings, particularly from chicken, I mean, you'll hear that every drop that falls, and that'll build up and just catch fire. And I've seen it many, many times. But anyway, enough safety talk this morning. I did have to fill up the water. My water ran out, you know, while I was asleep. My water reservoir. I just filled it back up. That's not a major deal. You know, some people cook without it, to be honest, without a water pan. I would not do that. You know, your meat's going to be drier if you cook just wholly without a water pan. But, you know, you do that as you may. Try that as you may. And you'll see that I'm telling you the truth. Would you guys look at the beautiful color on this? I mean, absolutely phenomenal. And again, these cheap pans, I'm so worried I'm going to get a hole. This is completely full of fluid. You can see that fat rendering down. Now you can see just a beautiful color there. So, I'm going to do a couple of things here to this before we cover it in foil. One of them is going to be just some brown sugar. I'm going to take some good old brown sugar. Just sprinkle some of that over the top of that. That'll melt down. You don't have to worry about rubbing it in. Gives a little sweetness to it, as well as some honey. This honey's been sitting a while, but this is real raw honey, so don't worry about your honey expiring. If it's good honey, if it's real honey, local honey, that stuff lasts. They found it in Egyptian tombs before. But I may have to microwave this. Let me do that. Alright, now is hands down my favorite part of the cook. It's when you've got all the working part of the project in and it's nothing but waiting at this point. So, you see the beautiful collar that was on those. I got some aluminum foil, heavy duty, it said, from the Dollar Tree. Don't believe that. This stuff is as thin as, I don't know, tissue paper, for lack of a better description. I could have doubled up on it, but it'll get there. So I'm not worried. But anyway, it's covered. I also rotated, you know, like my two that were on the bottom rack. Those were the highest temperature, the closest to being done. And I started wrapping from the top down. And by the time I got to the bottom, because you know you take one out, you keep closing it up, so it's still cooking. The bottom ones were like probably 175 internal by the time that I got the foil on them. And if that happens, don't worry a bit. It's not going to hurt a thing. Some people cook pork butt unwrapped, as some of you may know. And so what I did to kind of even out the cooking time was those two that were on the bottom, I moved those to the top rack, put the top two on the bottom rack. So hopefully all's well that ends well. But it's just waiting now, letting it cook. It's now like 4 in the morning. I bumped the heat down just a little because, you know, it was tending to ride about 250. And the good thing with those propane smokers, they're pretty consistent. And I adjusted throughout the cook. I probably didn't show some of that, but you know, sometimes it was running 225 and I'd bump it up a little bit, particularly when I took a nap. I didn't want it to fluctuate or ride down too low. They do have air dampers on them. I left those wide open, but it can fluctuate with, you know, airflow, how much wind, essentially. So anyway, I bumped it back down 225. I'm just going to ride it out. I got time. Like I say, it's 4 a.m. I got to be at work by 9. So, you know, I'd say these things will be done, I want to say 7 o'clock. You know, I'm hoping they'll at least go to 7. That's why I bumped the temperature down. Then we can take them off, put them in a heated cooler, and they'll be piping hot at 1 p.m. when they eat, guaranteed. I've done that before and it works out great. So, like I say, Mountain Dew. I need a little ice though. Definitely. All right. We're going to ride it out. We're going to cook. Okay, so a trick to keep barbecue hot for a very long time when you're holding it for a barbecue, for a party, essentially get a cooler. I boiled some water. You see the steam. Put some boiling water in this, and that's essentially going to heat that cooler up internally prior to putting the pork in. So pork's finishing up. You know, it's probably going to be another hour or so. And then after that, we can put it in this cooler. I may need another smaller cooler. I'm hoping I can get it all in here, but we'll see. All right, guys, it is 7:15 in the morning. If you remember, I put this on at 8:15 last night. This has cooked 11 hours. Unfortunately, we're not going to see me shred this today. This is for work. You know, and I want to keep it, all of these hot. I don't want to break it apart. It'll lose the heat and whatever else. I got to hot hold this for several hours. But I got to tell you, I got the first one off the smoker here. The rest of them are within, you know, 15, 20 minutes of being done. So let's take a look at it. Guys, the smell is absolutely phenomenal. Be very careful. It is hot, hot, hot. If you do this, especially with these cheap pans, you can get burnt very seriously, which I have done before. Look at that. Wow. Look how beautiful that is. And this probe, that's how you know, that probe just goes in like butter. This one's about 208, and this was on the bottom rack. Depending on where you probe. Nope, 208. So the rest of these will be a few degrees less, which will actually be a little better. I wouldn't typically go to 208, but it's going to be just fine. I can tell this is very tender. This is going to be absolutely wonderful. The rest of these, I'm going to pull off at, you know, 205 maybe. I might let them go that far. Again, they're on the higher racks. This is the one that is the most done. All right, guys, that was the cook. 11 hours. So, sorry, I'm holding this camera POV style, as they say. I'm exhausted. It has been a long night. Thank you for joining me on this channel. And again, I'm sorry you won't get to see me shred this. I'll follow up, let you guys know how it is maybe on the next video. I just have a gut feeling this is the best pork I've ever made. The smell of it, the texture, you know when you know. Anyway, thank you. If you like the content at all, I would appreciate if you support the channel. Take a second to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you'll know when new videos come out. We got some fun stuff coming up, particularly around the Jake Paul fight night. So watch for a fun video there. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a special guest, hopefully. I'm going to reach out and ask him if he will join me. But again, surprise, so I won't give away too much. So thank you for joining me. Join me again later. Put sage on it barbecue. Good night.